The Inkeepers is one of the most overlooked and underappreciated horror gems I have ever seen, but why is it overlooked and why is it underappreciated? Well, let's talk about that. After over 100 years of service, the Yankee Peddler Inn is shutting its doors for good. The last remaining employees, Claire and Luke, are determined to uncover proof of what many believe to be one of New England's most haunted hotels. As the inn's final days draw near, odd guests check in, and a pair of minimum wage ghost hunters begin to experience strange and alarming events that may ultimately cause them to be mere footnotes in the hotel's long, unexplained history. So, The Innkeepers. I bought this movie and watched it for the first time, I think around 3 years ago. And I watched it once around Halloween time because I wanted something new. It looked really interesting, so I bought it and I went home and I watched it. And I remember thinking it was like pretty good, like it wasn't really all that scary. And even at the time, I knew that it was a slow burner. And even at the time, I loved slow burners, but I especially love slow burners now. But I remember just thinking, yeah, it was pretty good. It wasn't amazing, but it was good. Yeah, it was a fun little movie. Then I went back and revisited it the next year and thinking, okay, that actually got a little bit better. And then I didn't watch it last year, but I really wanted to come back and revisit it this year. And this is a perfect time to talk about it because of the rebranding of my channel of, First Watch, Rewatch, and Beyond. This is a rewatch review, sort of. Well, it is. But I wanted to rewatch it and give everything. I wanted to really focus in on this movie. I studied and focused on this movie like a hawk. Like I sat there and watched it and I really soaked everything in. And yeah, this movie surprised the hell out of me. It's really, really freaking good. And here's my official review of it. So yeah, like I said at the beginning, this movie is really underappreciated and overlooked. I don't know of anybody else besides me who has seen this movie. This movie is extremely niche, I would say. It's very, very interesting. It's very much a slow burner. If you do not love slow burners, you're probably not going to love this movie. But if you like slow burners and movies that takes its time with its storytelling, you're probably going to really dig this movie. And right off the bat, from the very get-go, the score, the soundtrack, whatever you want to call it in this movie is amazing. It has this sort of classic scary movie horror Halloween type feel to it. I know that's very broad, but when you listen to it, you'll get what I mean. It's just really, really good. And it's really refreshing to see a movie that has a soundtrack that is not trying to be big and not trying to rip off Halloween or John Carpenter or anything like that. It's by itself and it's a really good score. The other thing that I love about this movie is that it's split up into chapters, and I love it when movies get split up into chapters. It just makes it feel a little bit more like a book, like you're sitting down, you're like, ooh, chapter 1, chapter 2, and you get done with the chapter and you move on to the next one, obviously, but it adds a little bit extra. The friendship between Claire and Luke, the two main characters in this movie, is just really sweet. From the get-go, you know that they're really good friends. They have been really good friends for a long time. Probably not immediate friends, but because they're stuck at this hotel, they kind of had to deal with each other, and then over the years, they've come to really like each other. It's one of those kind of friendships and little things that you pick up here and there as the movie goes forward that you know that they've been friends for years, and it just really shows, and it's really sweet. Like they kind of play pranks on each other and joke around, and they even get drunk at one point. It's a really good scene. I won't spoil it, but it's just a really good scene, and it shows that they have been friends, like I said, for a while. You don't know how long they've been friends for, but you can tell that they've definitely been through this minimum wage hotel job for a little bit too long. And it's funny to see their interactions with each other. I love the atmosphere in this movie. It's similar to The Shining in that it utilizes just its space to the max, and it really makes you feel like you're there. You hear the hotel creaking. It's eerie, it's creepy. There's a lot of long takes down the hallways that make it even more creepy and effective, and it's just directed really, really well. Claire, played by Sarah Paxton, is just really, really charming in this movie. She comes across as like she's bored, but she needs money, but she's kind of funny, and she's just really, really charming in this movie, and her friend Luke is the funniest in the whole movie. Some of his line delivery and all that is just really, really good, and it makes me crack up every single time I watch it. This movie also does something really interesting. They have false jump scares, but they're like effective false jump scares, and you're not really mad at them. Like, you know they're coming, but they're not accompanied by any, soundtrack post sound or something like that to make it even more of a false jump scare. It just lets the false jump scare do its thing, but it's also like kind of fun. I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe. I was surprised by it that I didn't hate it, because I usually hate false jump scares in movies. But he does something different with it that I found really smart and clever, and I just really, really like that aspect. This movie is also definitely a slow burner. If you do not love slow burners, you're probably not going to like this movie. A good chunk of this movie is really just Claire and Luke kind of being funny with each other, and they have these little EVP sessions that ghost hunters do, but they for a while it doesn't really do anything until obviously it does a little bit later down the road. But I would say for like the first half of this movie, it is just kind of like you taking in the atmosphere and the friendship between Claire and Luke. And I absolutely loved it because it makes you kind of feel for the characters, and that makes you feel like you're actually there at this hotel. And it's just really good. I love the fact that it takes it. The movie's only like an hour and 40 minutes, but it feels longer than that, but that's not a negative. I think it feels longer because you feel like you're actually there. And in a way, you're a minimum wage worker with these two people. And it's really fun for me to watch. But then obviously at the end, it gets pretty dang scary. It really does. There were a couple of moments sprinkled out throughout the whole movie that kind of got under my skin, and I was like, that's really creepy. Especially there's a scene with a piano. I won't go into it. I won't go into any spoilers in this movie, but just trust me, this movie, it gets underneath your skin, especially like the last like 20 minutes. And like I said earlier, this movie split up into chapters. It's split up into three chapters and an epilogue. And trust me when I say that they could have ended the movie at the end of chapter 3, but the fact that they made an epilogue and what that epilogue entails and what's in it, it just makes it just leaves you with a really weird feeling when the credits start rolling. It's like for the longest time, this movie was kind of funny and kind of creepy, and you're like, ooh, this is kind of spooky and everything. And then at the end, it kind of gut punches you with this epilogue. And then the movie just ends, and you're just sitting there and you're wondering, how the hell did they get away with this but still make it awesome? Like it's a very ballsy ending for a movie, and I really appreciated that Ty West went for it. Okay, now that I've actually gotten my review of the movie, which is obviously, you can tell that I love this movie and you should definitely go and watch it, I want to talk about the Yankee Peddler Inn, the actual hotel. It is real. It's an actual hotel, and it's called the Yankee Peddler. And I don't think it's open anymore. I did some research, and I think it's actually closed right now because they were doing renovations and all that. The movie, I was reading some of the behind the scenes of this movie, and Ty West actually used some of the renovations upstairs and the rooms as like. Not a crutch, but he used it to his benefit for the movie, because a lot of the stuff in this movie, or in the hotel rooms in the movie, they have like, sheets over them, and you can tell that they're getting ready to like haul them out and everything. And that was actually happening during the filming of this movie. And not only that, but this movie is actually based on the hauntings of this real hotel. If you believe in that sort of thing, I do, but if you believe in that sort of thing, this is supposedly one of the most haunted hotels in America. One of the rooms in the movie, I forget which number it is. I know it's on the 3rd floor, but in real life, one of the owners of the hotel died in that room, and supposedly it's the most haunted room in the hotel. And people have actually stayed in that room, and there's stories about people having bad dreams and people having like the same dream, like the exact identical dream that their friend had staying in that room, and it's like nightmares and everything. And it's really like the history behind this hotel is really fascinating. Obviously the movie has its own spin on these hauntings, and they actually change the names and what the ghosts do and everything, but this hotel, one, is real. and 2 is supposedly one of the most haunted hotels in America, and 3, it just makes the movie that much creepier in a way. When you watch it, you're just sitting there going, this is an actual real hotel. Because usually when you watch a movie, you're like, I don't know if this is a studio or if it's an actual hotel. So, because like for the longest time, I always wanted to go visit the Overlook Hotel, because obviously it's my favorite horror film of all time, but I wanted to just go to the Overlook Hotel. I knew it wasn't called the Overlook Hotel in real life, but I wanted to go to the building that they filmed it in, or the hotel that they filmed it in. And the actual hotel is real. The outside of the hotel that you see in the movie is a real place, but all of the rooms inside was a studio. And for the longest time, I thought it was a real hotel, like on the inside, and not a studio. And come to find out, it's an actual studio. So I was pretty bummed about that. But when I was looking up stuff about this movie, and I found out that the hotel is actually real, and you can actually go to it and stay at it if it's open. It adds a little bit extra to the movie, and I like that they utilized the space, and it's just a really interesting tidbit. So yeah, that's my rewatch review of The Innkeepers. If you guys haven't seen this movie, I would really strongly suggest you go out and see it, especially if you're a horror movie buff like I am. It's a really good watch. And as always, thanks for watching.